Pascal. You are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild, Haitian in the building, so original. Got the haters catching feelings. Get your hands up to the ceiling and keep them held high. Cause St. Louis isn't ready. Forget about it, goodbye. Hold on, we just saying hi. Five somebody rise up weekdays. Catch us live, somebody. Let's go.
Good afternoon. Good morning. And good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Pascal Show. Hope you guys are all doing well out there. Hope this show finds you in good spirits because another day above the dirt is always a blessing. Let's not forget that. We got some things we got to talk about today. Some very interesting things just dropped earlier today that is shaking a lot of people that have been following and covering this particular trial. There's a lot of questions on what is going on. Real talk. And I'm going to say it now. Don't at me. But I'm going to say this right now. They might have a good, solid argument here. I know. But still, nonetheless, we're going to talk about it. We're going to go through some of these things. And we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty of it all. Okay? So we got to talk about that. Okay? So, please do me a favor before we get into everything. Oh, my Lord. And, oh, yeah. This show is live. Hi, everybody. This show is live. Okay. See, I'm going to even pull up somebody's name here. Ashley. What's up? Okay. Yes, thank you. Okay. So this is live, just so you guys know. All right. So do me a favor before we get into everything. Hit that like button down below. Crush it. Do what it do. Hit that reaction button if you're watching on other platforms. If you are watching on those other platforms, please make sure you hit that follow button. I'm on Facebook, X/Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Rumble, Twitch, Kick. I'm on all of them, okay? So make sure you're following on those platforms. Subscribe here on my main channel, though. Subscribe here on my YouTube channel. Please and thank you. All right? Go to my second channel. Subscribe over there as well, The Pascal Show Clips. I also have another channel called Pascal Raw. We got some new episodes coming out here very, very soon. So make sure you are subscribed to all three platforms. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you know whenever I go live, whenever I upload, because right now it is pretty random. You know, I find time when I get the time to get on here and give you guys the lives or the videos, okay? So make sure the notification bells are set to all, okay? Hit that join button down below. Become a member. Support the channel if you can. Check out my Patreon. And, of course, check out PascalMerch.com. All right? Please and thank you. Go check it out. All right? Okay, guys. We got to get into this conversation. There's quite a bit to talk about. And let me just say this. This is pretty insane. I am very shocked about this information. We're not doing a whole bunch of news stuff today. We're going to basically get straight into this conversation, which is Diddy could actually walk, y'all. Diddy could actually walk because of they found something. How they found it, I have no earthly clue. And why didn't they bring this up during the trial in the first place? It's kind of beyond me. But if what they're claiming is true, then they have a solid point. They have a solid argument. Now, it also depends on if the judge is going to allow this. Because if that's the case, then we're back into a whole other trial all over again. Now, here's the thing. Allie just said they're grasping at straws. See, proof that we're live right now, okay? Proof that we're live, all right? So, yes, they're grasping at straws, but even when you take a whole handful of darts and throw them blindly all together at the dartboard, hoping that one of them is going to hit the dartboard, eventually you are going to hit one of those darts is going to hit the dartboard. It might not be a bullseye, but you might actually hit the dartboard. And it looks like that's exactly what's happening right here. They're basically saying, hey, look, he was making amateur films, okay? He was making amateur, we're going to use freak off tapes for right now, but you see the word right there, okay? Starts with a P, all right? Rhymes with corno, okay? They're basically saying he was making amateur freak-off tapes and that he never stuck his hand in any of the S workers' cookie jars. Yeah, let me repeat that again. For those of y'all late to the party, they're basically saying like he never bumped uglies with the S workers. The S workers were there bumping uglies with his significant other, and that he was there just to watch. So basically, you know, it's like he went to a peep show. He created his own strip club. Okay? And no, he was not going into the cornholio. Okay? He was not going through the cornholio. Okay? On any of the S workers. Now, the thing is that this could also get destroyed if there is an S worker that says, yeah, he went into the bum hole. Yes. That's still possible. S worker could literally walk forward and go, yes, he did the Alabama slammer to my exit hole. I'm just saying. Someone could seriously step forward and say something like that. He tried to get in there, or he successfully did get in there. There's still all those possibilities. But right now they're saying, hey, the people that went on trial, the people that testified and all that said, nope, he was in a corner doing his thing while I was doing my thing with Cassie or Jane Doe. Okay? And so while they were sitting ruminating, see, this is the crazy thing, okay? This is why this is where the money comes from, or this is where the money comes in. Because you got somebody who is very, very wealthy, okay? That makes a whole lots of monies. Basically saying, hey, I'm paying you guys to take care of all of this, okay? Figure it out. Get me out of jail. Get me out of prison. Now, if this is true, and he never stuck his hand in any other of these S workers' cookie jar, like not never, then they have a strong argument here, guys. It also depends on if the judge is remotely even going to entertain this as a possibility, as a way out. Okay? So let's take a look at this article. All right? Again, pretty insane stuff, but it's a solid argument. Yes, they've been throwing darts in the dark at a dartboard, just hoping to hit, and this one could possibly hit. So he wants a new trial. He says, I'm just a voyeur, an amateur filmmaker, if you will, of adult spicy films. Mann Act doesn't apply to me. Remember, just yesterday, he said, I want out because I'm just a John. I didn't touch them. I didn't touch any of those S workers, nor was I ever violent to any of those S workers, right? That's what he says. Now they're coming out with this. No, I just sat there and I just like watching. I like to watch. I want my P-Hub in real life. That's all. I wanted to see these guys do the Alabama slammer with my girls. Where's the crime in that? Where's the crime in that? I shouldn't be locked up for this. Right? So interesting. So he wants his conviction on 2 counts of the Mann Act overturned. And if not, he's demanding a whole new trial on those charges. Now, mind you, if he does a whole new trial, remember, there's a possibility that none of the witnesses, none of those people will be needed to be brought back into this trial if they are to do this all over again. Ain't that insane? So they can literally sit here and say, okay, what if the judge says, yeah, okay, fine. Acquittal, retry. And they're just trying him for these 2 counts on the Mann Act. All the people, all that time the countless hours, the countless weeks and days and weeks that we all poured into that trial, all that's basically thrown out the window and they start from scratch, specifically on the 2 charges of pro that he's looking at right now, that he's been convicted of, by the way. So if he doesn't get those counts overturned, he's demanding a new trial again. Now, this is, of course, according to docs, new docs filed late last night. It's pretty stunning. But in the docs obtained by TMZ, Diddy and his defense team make a case for the judge, okay, changing the Mann Act conviction to an acquittal. Here's why. The Mann Act involves transporting someone across state lines for the purpose of the hibbity-dibbity. But Diddy's team says they believe he's the only person ever convicted under this statute who did not make money off of the prostitution. It did not have relations with any of these alleged S workers and did not arrange these S workers' transportation. Now, again, they're going to break it down here in a second, but if you really think about it, still to this day, it was the girls that were setting things up. It was the Jane Doe. It was the Cassies, right? It was them that were actually setting up the times, bringing them into a particular area, bringing them in to do the hibbity-dibbity, right? Now, still, no matter what, I still believe that these women were coerced. They were forced to do certain things that they didn't want to do anymore. I think that you can still want to have a good time in the very beginning, and then near the very end, you can want to do it 100 times, but that 101 time that you say you don't want to do it, and that guy raises his hand to you and puts a hurt into you just so you can go and continue performing for him, that is a problem. That is a crime. That's what I truly think. I truly believe that. I truly believe that these girls, these women, were actually coerced and made to do certain things that they did not want to do. Maybe in the very beginning, they liked it because it was a little freaky leaky. It was a lot of fun. But then later on, it wasn't fun no more. Then it's like, oh, wow, he wants me to do this. At first, it was for 15 minutes. Now it's 9 hours. This is insane. I can't do this anymore. No, I don't want to do this anymore. See, there's the problem. Because instantly, everyone sits there and goes, oh, you a 304. Oh, you a dirty, dirty, dirty 304. You a garden tool, girl. So, of course, that gets overshadowed on everything else. Just because these girls wanted to try out something a few times and enjoyed it the few times in the beginning. But later on, when it gets more intense, it gets more insane, and there's trains of men coming in to that hotel room, and they're sitting there saying no, and Diddy's putting a hand to them or plying them with substances. That's the problem right there, guys. There lies the problem. But unfortunately, the jury didn't see it that way, which still, in my personal opinion, is astounding. Okay? Is astounding that it was completely overlooked. Okay? Yes, Lil Patty. No means mother loving no. Period. Okay? But what's interesting is that he's leaning on the fact that these girls set these things up for him. And that instead, he didn't engage in any hibbity-dibbity, in any salacious activity physically with these male workers. It was the girls that were engaging in those acts, not him. He was just in the room wearing a mask with a warm body, with a warm bottle of baby oil or Astroglide, losing his religion in the corner, right? At least that's what he's claiming. And at least that's what some of the videos are being shown that were being shown in the trial. So yeah, now they're throwing everything against the wall and seeing what sticks. And eventually you throw enough things on the wall, something's going to possibly stick. And it looks like this could possibly stick. Possibly. We'll see what the judge says, right? So, of course, they're going to explain it a little bit more. Translation. He's done none of the things spelled out in the Mann Act. Remember, during the trial, none of the S workers, nor Cassie or Jane, testified Diddy engaged in any type of hibbity-dibbity with these ex-workers. They all said he was either watching or recording the freak-off sessions as the women had relations with the hired guns. Because he just had a hankering for hogs. And that's it. He just wanted to see some juicy hogs with his girls. And that got him off. And that's it. So he's sitting there in the corner, losing his religion. He's not doing anything wrong. It's the girls that are doing something that's illegal. Not him. He just happens to be in the room. Ain't that wild? Ain't that wild? They're still engaging in prostitution. You're still engaging in that stuff. You're just in the room. You in the room where the crime is happening, but you're not a part of the crime. Ain't that wild? That's some wild stuff. But this is what they're putting out here, baby. So moving out here, testimony also revealed it was typically the women, like I just said a second ago, not the diddler, who made all the arrangements, travel, compensation, and hotels for the S workers involved in these freak-offs. So further, they say Diddy's sexual involvement was basically voyeurism. He was a voyeur, if you want to keep it nice and fancy in French. Okay? He was a voyeur. That's all. He just enjoyed watching these men, like some of these men right here, giving his girlfriend of the time a good seeing to. Okay? Giving them the ride of their lives. For hours and days on end. So it's just basically voyeurism. And they point out multiple state courts have held that paying for voyeurism to watch other people have relations is not prostitution. Ain't that crazy? Just knucking futs. So now, if he just happens to be in the room and they're the ones setting it up, yet he already has prior knowledge that these individuals are actually S workers and they're there to get paid to perform an sexual act with his girl. Isn't that still engaging in pros? Doesn't matter. And here's the other thing too. He's still paying these people off. Let me repeat that again. He's still paying these people off. The money that's being handed over to them, sure, it's being handed to them by Cassie or the Jane Doe or maybe an assistant, but the money is still coming from his bank account, is it not? Sure, it's going through different hands and stuff, but it's coming from his money. So he's paying for pros. He's paying them for this is the quid pro quo. All right, man, you're going to get with my girl. You're going to dig her out, okay? And then I'm going to give you $3,000. And if it's any good, and if you do a really good job, I'll give you $8,000, all right? But I need you to get in there, and I need you to finish strong. And then I need you to spill all your vanilla milkshake all over her hoo-ha so I can slurp it up. Isn't that quid pro quo for S activity by a pro? Last I checked, that is. But I'm not a lawyer. I'm not the judge. But it's something to think about for sure. He paid those people. He paid those S workers. Yes, it wasn't directly from his hand to somebody else's hand, but he's not dumb, guys. He knows better than that. So he made sure that it was being passed on. right? It was like hot potato with the cash. All right? Because if it was a chocolate milkshake, then it would come out brown, and that sounds nasty. That's even nastier. Okay, that's a whole other conversation. We talking about white milkshake because the vanilla milkshake is white. Okay, okay. Just so you know, that's the reason why. If you know when a man loves a woman and they get together and they do the hibbity dibbity, the liquids that come out of a man, okay, they be at the end. You know what I mean? We reach the climax, right? That moment, it be white. It doesn't change color. If it does, you need to go seek a physician as soon as possible, just so you know. Moving on, though. This doesn't make sense to me, guys, but I can see this working. I really could. Yes, baby gravy. And that baby gravy, it ain't brown. It ain't gray. That ish be white. Okay? It's just biology 101. Sex ed 101. Moving on, though. So now, Diddy also says that male S workers they hired were not only consenting, but they, quote unquote, enjoyed the activities and had friendships with Cassie and, quote unquote, Jane, the Jane Doe, and were not merely traveling to have relations for money. Stop it! Stop! Oh, that's cap. You mean to tell me that they're coming up, they're flying out there because they just love having fun. They just love seeing Cassie. They just love seeing Jane Doe. And if they happen to get money at the end of it, cool. Oh, wow, I got a couple $1,000. Woo! Is it Christmas? Christmas came early. Like me. Man, thank you so much. Stop. Come on, stop it. Stop it. So, solely because they had friendships, that these guys were willing to hop on planes and fly out across state lines, just what? To sit down and have cocoa and talk about their boys? Talk about their relationships? Oh, girl, dish, as they're having hot cocoa, watching Love Island in the background, and they're just, dishing on their relationships. Come on now. This was not the kind of friendship that they're alluding to. They were merely traveling to have relations and get paid for those relations. How did they get recruited? Hold on. Think about this for a second. How did they actually get recruited? And I'm sorry, I'm just asking all the questions, okay? I'm sorry for being funny. This stuff angers me, so I don't know. Maybe the comedy comes out because I'm angry. But here's the thing, because I think this is BS, but I can see this actually working. Okay, I can actually see this excuse actually working, this approach actually working. Now, here's the thing. How did they recruit these guys in the first place? It's not like one day that they were at a bar or at some other party, at a Bible study, drinking Perrier and talking about the Lord. And that's when they met them. And then randomly, one random fateful night, this S worker, named the Punisher, happens to slip and just put his PP in her vajayjay. And then they just became like, oh, this is fun. Let's keep doing this. No, they hired the dude. The dude walked in. She said, okay, so my man, he don't like being looked at. He's a little shy, but he wants to see us do our thing. Okay. And he's like, I bet. Here's some money, though, to start off with. Shoot, money? This is more than you said. I thought it was only going to be 8. You just gave me $3,000. I bet. Where's the baby oil? Oh, right here? And I got to put it all over your beautiful body? And he only have to be in the corner just doing what he doing with the mask on? Bet. Say less. So they do their thing, and then he leaves. And they're like, we'd like to have you come back again. He says, say less, bro. When? Not because they're friends. It's not like in the conversation, they're like, how was your day? Did you have a good day? Tell me, talk to me. What's wrong? Why are you upset? I could tell in the text message. You seem to be mad. What's going on? Break it down for me. It's not like that, guys. These guys were only paid to go in there and perform. Okay? Alabama slammer all the time. This was not a situation where they sat down and they're having a full-on group meeting talking about each other's wives or girlfriends or, significant others. This was a full-on relationship where they were spending money. This was quid pro quo. This was actual activity that the guy was paid to do. That's it. The relationship they had was with his hog. That's it. Okay? So again, this is ridiculous. Okay? This is ridiculous. They merely were not there to have relations for money. That's clearly what they were there for. So you can stop with the nonsense, to be really honest. In other words, they were all just really good buddies. None that we've heard so far in any of the testimony, have they ever said that they were buddies. Like I said, it's stupid. We're not sure how much of a difference that will make, legally speaking, but there it is. Finally, Diddy says the freak-offs were protected under the First Amendment because they were recording, or as they put it in the docs, producing amateur spicy videos for later private viewing. Now, see, here's the thing. I see the point. I see that. But why didn't they bring that up in the first place? Why didn't they bring that up? They had weeks, y'all, weeks to come up with that excuse, to come up with this BS. And what happened? Not a damn thing. Now they pull this out their butthole now. You see what I'm saying? Why didn't they bring this up before? So now I'm paying a guy to act on film for me. To make amateur films with my girl. None of the court docs, now if the court docs does not overturn his Mann Act convictions, counts 3 and 5 in the federal indictment, Diddy's defense says he deserves a new trial where only evidence related to those counts is admitted. Specifically, his lawyers say that would exclude the Cassie video. So that video would go bye-bye. Okay? That video would be gone. The testimony from Annie scathing testimony, all of them. Deontay Nash, her own mama, anybody that wasn't an S worker, all those things gone. Mia, all those things gone. Starting from scratch all over again. And I could see him getting away with that. I could see him winning if they lean on this kind of stuff. I could see it if they actually do this. According to the docs, the evidence was only admitted in his trial because of the RICO and STing charges, of which he's been acquitted. And if Diddy were only facing the Mann Act charges, the infamous Intercontinental Hotel footage wouldn't be relevant and would only be unfairly prejudicial. So, Diddy's legal power move here comes on the heels of the breaking story about Trump that was already considering pardoning Diddy, okay? And could make a decision as soon as the judge makes a decision on Diddy's latest motion to be released on bail ahead of his October sentencing. So Trump is still considering pardoning Diddy. This is really bad. Okay. The reason why I say this is really bad is because, and I'm seeing it now more than ever. I thought in the very beginning, you saw a couple of weeks ago, I'm like, there's no way in God's green earth Trump is going to pardon Diddy. But here's the thing. There's a possibility he will. You want to know why? It's solely because who was spearheading the trial in the first place, as far as prosecution, as far as them feds. Maureen Comey, she just got kicked out. She just got fired. And I think it's more than just the fact that this trial was just a train wreck. Okay, it was an absolute dumpster fire. I think that there was absolute proof in there that there was at least some racketeering charges that definitely could have been tapped on. I don't think prosecution did that great of a job showing everything. And I think that they named the wrong things. Okay? I think that they gave Diddy the wrong charges, which is where they dropped the ball as well. The charges that they had against him, not strong enough. Okay? And then here's the other thing too. There were people that were supposed to be going into the trial, that were supposed to testify, that didn't even show up. They didn't have those people anymore. Let's not forget Jane Doe 3, Gina, miraculously shows up outside of a Whole Foods parking lot in Las Vegas and goes, I ain't scared of him. He's not dangerous. He ain't a dangerous guy. Interesting. But then you see her Tasha K interview, and she talks about how volatile and dangerous that mother lover is. Right? Oh, yeah, that's definitely, Allie, definitely witness tampering, in my personal opinion. Okay? But nonetheless, her, the chef Jordan didn't show up. Why? Why didn't they bring in Christina Coram, KK? They didn't bring any of these people in. Why not? The feds dropped that ball. And the main person that was spearheading that was Maureen Comey. Now, here's the thing. This is very important to understand and hear, okay? Remember, first off, Trump does not like, he has sincere disdain for James Comey, which is Maureen Comey's father, all right? Hates him to the core. His daughter, obviously, was spearheading this trial. She dropped the ball pretty bad. And of course, some look at this whole trial like they were just trying to railroad Diddy and basically string him up and make him look like a bad guy. You know, like take a successful black man down, so on and so forth. That this was one just big ass attempted and not very successful witch hunt on Diddy. Now, here's what's interesting about this. Trump can definitely understand where Diddy's sitting right now. Only difference between Trump and Diddy is that Diddy's locked up right now. Trump is the president of the United States, free as a bird. But he was also hit with multiple counts and found guilty on multiple counts, right? And he believed that to be a full-on witch hunt on him as well. So there's a possibility that he has a soft spot for Diddy specifically because he understands what it feels like to have a witch hunt or, you know, people going out for your head and they're stopping at nothing. So once you think about it, with everything coming around, I now would not be surprised if Diddy gets a pardon from Trump. Not saying that I agree with it, but I'm sitting here saying I wouldn't be surprised if he actually gets a pardon. And it won't be because Diddy and Trump see eye to eye on the same political views. Oh, hell no. I think it would just be a full-on middle finger to the people who try to convict and successfully convicted Trump in the past. Think about that for a second. Especially the other thing, too. The fact that James Comey's daughter is the one that was spearheading this thing, and it fell flat. Big time. You realize that this just makes Trump smile in a way, right? Trump loves himself a revenge served cold. And he loves when somebody falls on their face, especially someone he doesn't like. And Trump is one to really be passionately hateful towards anyone that's connected to the person that he hates, even blood. Think about it. Now, he hasn't pardoned him yet. He says he's really considering it. He hasn't done it yet. He's still waiting on what the judge is going to do and what the judge will rule. But there's still a good possibility now, more than anything. I will not be surprised if Trump actually pardons Diddy. If you look at the information, Maureen Comey got fired weeks after they fell flat on this conviction, trying to convict Diddy on harder charges. Immediately got fired. We talked about this in another show. It's like, I'm not surprised, given the fact that this is the daughter of James Comey. James Comey and Trump do not get along. Trump has some serious anger and a grudge against James Comey. So, of course, it's going to trickle down to his daughter. His daughter didn't do that great of a job. She's a good lawyer. But as far as this trial, it was bad. This trial was really, really bad. A bad look for the feds. A bad look for Maureen Comey. So I can see this is an opportunity to basically go, the middle finger. You know what I mean? Meh. That's what you get, Comeys. Let's pardon him and let him free. Because both of them now are on the same page. An enemy of my enemy is my what? Exactly. You see what I'm saying? So I could see this all blowing up for various reasons. Now, I will say this. I'm already seeing, like, I checked out a couple videos of people reacting to this. Some people are literally like excited. They're literally reaching for the baby oil right now as we speak. They're literally trying to reach for it, to rejoice and go, yeah, all over themselves, lather themselves with baby oil and writhe all over the floor. They're ready. It's on standby. It's in a warm bowl of water right now. That baby oil, that bottle is just chilling, waiting, okay, for the news. If it does happen, there's going to be a lot of people doing their victory lap. Get ready. And if it does happen, it happens. But now I can see it possibly happening solely because of everything that I just told you guys. And I don't think it's going to have anything to do with this, with what he's saying. Oh, yeah, I was making amateur videos. Nah. But what's so sad about this is that, okay, here's the thing. You add this and the possible pardoning of Diddy, right? And then you add Ghislaine Maxwell. I'm telling you right now, Trump is going to have a hell of a time after all this drops. Because now it's going to be like, okay, every single victim is nothing to him. People are going to react in a way that I don't think anybody's ready for. Or they might be like, okay, fine, that's fine with Diddy, but Maxwell? Really? Really, Maxwell? You see what I'm saying? So again, it's not good. It's no bueno, but there's going to be a lot of people, as far as victims go, there's going to be a lot of angry people. And then if he does pardon Ghislaine Maxwell, it's going to make the situation even worse. You see what I'm saying? Because then it's like, wow, you didn't care about those victims. And then now you're doing this with Maxwell. You're going to pardon her. That's going to cause even more anger from definitely from a specific group, because all of those survivors, all those victims, all those that are actually surviving, it's almost like they're spitting in the face of those particular people. You see what I'm saying? So this is not something that you want to have happen, period. Because then, one, all these victims deserve justice. But two, it's as if those victims' cries and claims are nothing. That's really sad. Let's take a look at this. We got some paperwork. We got the documents. Now, it's 62 pages. I'm not going through all of this, guys, okay? I mean, we basically went through a breakdown, kind of like a summary from TMZ in their article. This is absolutely crazy, but I do want to, read a little bit of this for you guys. This is just insane. All right. So, introduction. Actually, let me go. Okay. So, introduction. Since the government arrested Diddy last September, it has painted him as a monster. Yeah, I still think he's a monster. Sorry. Doesn't matter if he gets pardoned. Doesn't matter if they retry him again. He is most definitely a monster. Okay? For months, prosecutors accused him of running a 20-year racketeering enterprise and of STing multiple women. But his 2-month trial showed these charges were not supported by credible evidence, and the jury rejected them. Diddy now stands convicted only of act, which doesn't require proof or of coercion, threats, or fraud. The government told the jury it had to convict so long as Diddy arranged for a long-time girlfriend or a paid male worker or entertainer to travel across state lines to get together and have these relations. And that is all the jury convicted him for. Now, here's the thing. These guys were flying across state lines, getting paid to do the hibbity-dibbity. There's no difference. There's no change in that. So the fact that he's like, oh, but he was just making content for his own private viewing. No, that doesn't work for me, guys. It's a no for me, dog. Okay? It's definitely a no. He definitely paid these people. See, and that's the thing. Some people are like, come on, free him, free Diddy. Here's the thing. He paid these people to do these things. He has been found guilty of those things. He got freed of the racketeering and the STing charges for sure. Those things are done. He's been freed of that, but he still needs to pay for the pro stuff because that's exactly what he did. There's no change in that. There's none. So he's free in a couple years unless they are going to acquit this whole particular trial and start from scratch all over again, which is a possibility. But at the same time, crazy, right? Yes, huckabuck, AJ. But anyway, to our knowledge, Diddy is the only person ever convicted of violating the statute for conducting anything like this, or for conduct anything like this. Anyway, it is undisputed that he had no commercial motive and that all involved were adults. The men chose to travel and engage in activity voluntarily. There was quid pro quo for that. They got paid to do that. Those flights were booked for them. The hotel room was already ready for them. They got paid for these things. You see what I'm saying? Like, okay. They're moving the goalpost, in my personal opinion. But let's continue. The verdict confirms the women were not vulnerable or exploited or teed or SA'd during the freak-offs or hotel nights. And Diddy never had relations with the supposed prostitutes, right? We are aware of no other case in which a person was convicted under case law, blah, okay, even though he made no money from the pros, didn't have relations with the alleged pros, and didn't engage or didn't arrange the transportation with the intent of committing sexual or STing, or an S crime involving a minor. Indeed, under long-standing Department of Justice policy, Mann Act charges are not filed in similar circumstances. So again, they're sitting here saying, like, hey, he made no money. Like, he wasn't a PIMP. Okay? He was not a pimp. He didn't make any money off these things. He put money in, so that they can be there for his own actual enjoyment, for his own eyes and weed whacker, right? So that he'd be in the corner doing what he was doing, right? He's like, they're like, oh, he did not make any money off this. It's not like he went out and took these videos that we know of and sold these and made crap tons of money off this stuff. Not even that. And it's not like he said, hey, girl, where's my money? Like a pimp, right? Interesting, right? In short, this conviction stands alone, but it should not stand at all. First, application of the Mann Act is in these circumstances is unprecedented. Construing it to reach Diddy's conduct would raise serious fair notice and discriminatory enforcement concerns. The pro stuff is not defined in the statute, and it is normally up to the states and localities to regulate and define pro or not. The term has had multiple different meanings over time and depending on the jurisdiction. And in the 2000s, multiple state courts have held that paying for voyeurism to watch other people have the hibbity-dibbity is actually not pro. The lack of statutory definition, the changing and inconsistent ordinary meaning of the term, and the fact most states where the S activity occurred do not treat this conduct as pros, creates a classic trap for the unwary, requiring a narrow interpretation that would not sweep in Diddy's conduct. The statute should apply only to defendants with a commercial motive in the pro, or if it can apply consumers of the actual pro. Should not cover consumers who do not have relations with the adult pro. Such a limiting construction is also required to avoid other serious constitutional problems of substantive due process, the First Amendment, and federalism. Diddy, at most, paid to engage in voyeurism as part of a quote-unquote swingers lifestyle. This does not constitute pro under a properly limited definition of the statutory term. So again, they're basically saying, yo, he did not make any final gain, financial, he didn't get any financial gain out of this. He didn't, he was in the room. He's watching other people do the hibbity-dibbity while he's in the room watching it. This is full-on swingers type of lifestyle. This is voyeurism. This is him making content, okay? Adult film content, amateur adult film content, but it's not anything in regards to this Mann Act. These guys came in. They enjoyed what they were doing. They were having a great time. They were buddies. They were all friends, just getting together and getting sweaty and oily. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just a bunch of consensual adults doing consensual things. Literally, that's what they're saying. Second, if the pro includes a defendant, even if pro includes a defendant who pays to observe two other people have relations with each other, the evidence is insufficient to show that Diddy had any such intent. The proof at trial showed that he typically hired the services of male S-workers or dancers, advertised openly through lawful businesses, that the men were paid for their time and that they enjoyed the activities and had friendships with Ventura, Miss Ventura, and Jane, and we're not merely traveling to have relations for money. That right here, this whole thing. I mean, this whole thing's a stretch, but this is a stretch. Okay? This is an absolute stretch. But okay. Third, numero tres. Uno, dos, tres. Yeah, tres. Okay. If the statute is interpreted to cover Diddy's conduct, his conviction must be reversed because it violates the First Amendment. The freak-offs and hotel nights were performances that he or his girlfriends typically videotaped as they could watch them later. In other words, he was producing amateur spicy videos for later private viewing. This is protected First Amendment conduct that no substantial government interest justifies prohibiting, since the films depicted adults voluntarily engaging in consensual activity. Fourth, if the court declines to grant an acquittal because they feel like what they're saying here has such merit and such weight, they expect this to be acquitted. So they're saying if they decline to grant this acquittal, a new trial is required under Rule 33 due to severe spillover. I love how they use that. How fitting. Spillover prejudice from reams of inflammatory evidence. This evidence, particularly the intercontinental footage, was admissible only because of the RICO and STing charges. It would never have been admitted at a trial solely on the Mann Act counts, as it was irrelevant and unfairly prejudicial. Under the Second Circuit's quote-unquote retroactive misjoinder doctrine, a new trial limited to evidence admissible to prove the Mann Act charges is warranted. Now, here's the thing, though. They had a whole trial. So, of course, they showed the intercontinental footage. Of course, they showed the attack on Cassie because they were talking about RICO and STing charges as well. So, yeah, if they are going to retry the Mann Act trial all over again, sure, that footage would be thrown out because that's not part of why he's being locked up in the first place, right? I get that part. But you can't sit there and say that the evidence that was used during the RICO and STing trial, federal trial that he was in, is inadmissible after the fact. That makes no sense. But sure, you can't use it now. If the judge says, fine, go retry this whole crap again, sure, you can't use that information. You can't use that in a future trial. But what's been done is done. And they presented that information because it was part of the RICO and STing trial. And of course, he was exonerated for those things. So now you can't use it anymore. Fine. But everybody else knows about that footage now. So continuing on, Diddy sits in jail based on evidence that he paid adult S workers and entertainers who engaged in consensual sexual activities with his former girlfriends, which he videotaped and later watched with his girlfriends. That is not pro. And if it is, his conviction is unconstitutional. Wow. The court should grant an acquittal or, at an absolute minimum, a new trial on the Mann Act counts alone. Now, of course, there's like 62 pages of stuff, jargon, BS, etc., that they're going, well, you see, this is the reason why. Here's the background on this. Here's the information on that. And I say this. We'll see what the judge rules with this. But I'm telling you right now, this is them throwing a whole bunch of darts at a dartboard and seeing what hits. They're hoping and praying for something. Okay? Let me get this here real quick. Maggie, thank you so much. No, Pascal, the charges he's guilty. The charges he is guilty. No, the charges he is guilty. It doesn't matter that he didn't have relations with the S worker. Just soliciting the service is the crime. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. Absolutely. 110%. Maggie, I agree 110%. Okay? What they're trying to throw at the courts right now is actually a Hail Mary. It's a Hail Mary. It could work, but it's a Hail Mary nonetheless. We'll just see if it actually sticks. I don't see it sticking, but wilder things have happened. Things have most definitely happened. So let's continue on. I got to play a little bit of this interview. Agnifilo was on Court TV. Shout out to Court TV. Agnifilo was on Court TV. This is the lead attorney for Diddy, talking about Diddy's trial. And he, of course, talks about this whole thing, basically saying, and the title of this video is basically saying, Diddy should be released. I don't think so, but we will see. We will see what happens here, right? Let's take a listen.
In the case, and you were an outstanding advocate for Mr. Combs.
Oh, thank you very much, and thanks so much for having me.
You're very welcome. So let's get into this bail package that you have proposed. I read your motion, and you talk about the exceptional facts of this case and how the way the Mann Act is being applied is kind of like one of a kind. Would you walk us through what you mean by that, please?
Sure. So the Mann Act was passed in 1910, and it's changed a few times through the years. But really what it's geared at, what it's focused on, is prosecuting people who make money from the business of prostitution. And that's not the allegation against Mr. Combs. The allegation of Mr. Combs, what the jury found, essentially was that he was a user of services provided by sex workers, essentially a John, for lack of a better word. And the Mann Act just historically hasn't been applied to Johns. It's a financial statute. It's really been applied at people who look to make money from prostitution. And so since that's not how it's being applied here, we made the argument that we have to, under the case law and the statutes in this area, that this is an exceptional reason, and that Mr. Combs should be considered for release on bail because of it.
Mark, I read in your motion, you say that Mr. Combs may very well be the only John sitting in a jail right now for his crimes. What makes you say that?
So we've done a nationwide survey of Mann Act cases, and we're not all the way finished, but we've looked at probably close to 100 cases. And we don't see any other case where a John, the user of prostitution services, is being prosecuted under the Mann Act. There are instances where the user of prostitution services has some kind of connection with the arranger, the organizer, the people who make the money from the prostitution services. But in terms of just being a straight user of services provided by a sex worker, we think he might be the only person in the country.
I certainly see what you're saying and can appreciate the legal argument you put forth in your motion for bail for Mr. Combs, Mark. And even if the judge agrees, let's say the judge agrees that this is an exceptional application of the Mann Act, and your client may be the only one who's jailed right now. You've cited every other case you can find. It's an ROR type bond situation. What about the other component that we know the judge is very concerned about, and that is your client's propensity for violence? Even you yourself acknowledge that in the closing arguments of the case with what happened to Cassie on the video that the world saw, and in the instances with Jane. How can you reconcile your position now in this motion for bail that he should be free and is not a danger to the public when we know these instances happened in the past?
So I think the key thing with what you said is that it happened in the past. I mean, the only instance that we have in recent memory was one, and the trial evidence showed this, where Jane essentially, started a fight with Mr. Combs, smashed his head against the counter, threw glasses at him. Jealousy was always a feature of their relationship, and Jane was jealous of his relationship with another woman. And so that was about 14 months ago that happened. But other than that, everything dates back, a number of years, 2018 and before. And as the point we made in the bail application as well is, Mr. Combs is seeking counseling, was seeking counseling for domestic violence before he was arrested.
He was getting that DV counseling weeks before he got arrested. Why? Because he knew he was going to get arrested. He already knew that the feds were breathing down his neck. He already knew that he was in trouble. So of course he's going to do everything he can to look as good as he can in front of the court and the court of public opinion. Let's be real. So as much as they say, oh yeah, he's trying to be a better person. He's trying to be a better man. No, he knew he was in trouble. He knew he had to show that he was doing some sort of act of reconciliation. So he started doing the therapy. That's it. And sure, he's doing therapy and doing group counseling in the jail right now, but that doesn't change anything. That doesn't change anything. He's doing it after the fact. Does this mean that he's going to change his ways after this? Probably. But maybe not. He's just going to find a better way to be more discreet when he puts his hands on somebody or when he has a freak off. Because for a fact, if somebody like him enjoys freak offs, he's going to try to do some more freak offs later on. As soon as he's free, that's the first thing he's going to do, I'm sure. Throw a whole party being like, I'm free, right? And then when the lights turn off and the party's over, going to have that freak off with God knows who, right? With God knows who wants to be in that freak off. Real talk. But on some real stuff, the fact that he's like, oh yeah, I'm seeking therapy. See, I'm working on myself. It's all for show because he wants to get out. Period. The other thing too is, here's another question. Did the feds mess up again by using and going after the Mann Act? Something to think about. Remember that it seems like they overcharged and underdelivered, right? The feds. I'm talking about the feds. Could they have used the wrong charge? Could they have gone after this whole Mann Act thing and it be the wrong thing to go after Diddy on? It's just something to think about. I feel like the feds screwed up so terribly, so much on this one, that I wouldn't be surprised if they overlooked a few things, even with what charges they were trying to slap him with. Just something to think about.
He was attending a program here in New York, and we really wish that he could have stayed in that program, but the federal government arrested him, and then he was in jail, and he couldn't continue with this very outstanding program, which I believe he'll come back to if he's released. And that's really, I started my career in the Manhattan DA's office, and I would see, all manner of domestic violence, and it's a very difficult crime for everyone involved. It's difficult, obviously, for the victim who has to live in fear from one of the people in her lives that she's the closest to or he's the closest to. But what I saw in the DA's office is that these were not resulting in lengthy prison sentences. These were resulting in appropriate, treatment programs, self-awareness, therapy, things like that. And I think this is what Mr. Combs needs rather than an extended time in prison.
Mark, my understanding is that Jane wrote him a letter to get into the batterers program before he was arrested for the instant case. Is that correct?
So they were in the process of writing a letter. So what happened with Mr. Combs, and this is because of his notoriety, and I think this is really unfortunate, is that I tried very hard to get him into a batterers program in April, April and May, before he got arrested. And I think because of his notoriety, a lot of these programs didn't want to take him. And so I think what was happening around the time of the incident that was testified to at the trial is that Jane was in fact helping him write a letter to get into one of these programs. And at the end of the day, he didn't get into the program that I think the letter was directed to, but we got him to another program, and he did start, therapy and counseling in that program, and did that for several weeks before he was arrested. So that's what your question is. The answer is yes, that is true.
And thank you for that, Mark. Is he availing himself of?
Hold on. Somebody just made a good point right here. I have got to read this. You got a good point, Nikki. I was just thinking about that right when you put this up. How was Diddy in a program when they caught him? And he was also still getting ready for a freak off in his hotel. Think about that for a second. Does that show that he's rehabilitated? That he's doing some act of reconciliation, an act of contrition, an act of trying to do better? If you changed your ways and you're working on yourself and trying to show proof positive that you're working on yourself, Nikki's got a damn good point right here. Damn. Great minds think alike. I'm like, wait a second. You know, I was just thinking about it. I was like, okay, he got raided. Then he went to therapy. Then he went to New York. And then when he got arrested, they went through his place and they found all kinds of stuff. Baby oil, Astroglide, Tucci, all that stuff, right? Why would he have all that stuff if he was, you know, like I said, trying to get clean from the S stuff, from the freak off stuff, from to the anger stuff? Think about that, right? Yeah, he had dope in the room, y'all. He had all kinds of stuff in the room. And yet he still wanted to get busy. He still was trying to do something before he got arrested. So again, you know, when we look at this and we hear Agnifilo is his lawyer. What else is new? He's gonna say things to defend his client. Okay, and again, hopefully he's not lying. Let me try that again. Hopefully he's not lying. Hopefully his lawyer's not. I can't do it. I can't say it. But you get what I'm saying, okay? Because there's a good possibility he is. You know how much money this man is getting. This man's getting crazy money. Millions of dollars. Okay? So you're going to do everything you can because let's be real. This is also the court of public opinion that he's working for too, that he's fighting for on behalf of Diddy. So getting on court TV, getting on any other platform, this is an opportunity for him to turn to the court of public opinion and go, oh, see it to play. You know what I mean? Don't you have a heart? He's a man just like you. Don't you have a heart? See what I'm saying? And he's still doing the whole, he found God, he found therapy. He went to rehab. Okay. Sure.
Any programs now in the jail?
So the MDC doesn't have the programming that some other jails do because it's not a final holding facility. It's really for people who are in a pretrial posture. So it's by its nature somewhat transient. So other prisons where people go to serve their sentences have much better programming, and so the programming at the MDC is not really that well established. That being said, we've cobbled together therapists and people who go in and speak with Mr. Combs, and he is availing himself of that.
Very interesting, guys. Very, very interesting. Okay. There is something he does say at the end of this that I want to share with y'all because I think this is interesting too. It's just very interesting. Hold on. It's like right around here. It's right near the end. Just talking about if he does get out. Because, I mean, shoot, this guy, if this is successful, he could get out. He could get out this week. It's insane. It's insane all because it's like, hey, he made content, yes, but it was only for him. And it was amateur, adult films. So how's the Mann Act have anything to do with his ass? Set my man free. Crazy. And if that does happen, if this does land, he could walk out. And then they have to retry him all over again. See, this is when the likes of like Aubrey O'Day, Dawn Richard, any other person, Deontay Nash, Cassie, Jane Doe, any of them, all of them should be scared right now. Shoot, even Gina.
tell when a jury is really functioning at 100%, and this jury was. And I wish that everyone could have seen what the jury saw. I think that would have been very good for Mr. Combs and very appropriate for the world to have seen it with their own eyes.
Most definitely. And the respect you showed us in this interview, you're exuding for the other side. Everyone's just doing their job. The government did what they felt was best under the circumstances, following the law as they saw, and you all did your job advocating for your client. Mark Agnifilo, thank you so much for the conversation. I hope we can talk again sometime.
Hold on.
You can tell when a jury is really functioning.
I need to find it. Hold on. It's it's somewhere around here. It's just talking about like if he gets out, what's he gonna do? You know what I mean? Hold on.
And that's something I hope that changes one day. Tell me, if the public were able to have watched, do you think it would have perhaps changed any public opinions? In other words, is there anything you think the public might have?
We need to let him have a little transition, have some downtime. You know, I just spoke to him an hour ago. I said, I'm not going to rest until you feel the hot.
For his life, because at some point this will all be said and done. We don't know what exactly the sentence will be that the court imposes, but after that, does he hope to return to music?
There we go.
I don't know that he's thought that far ahead. The phrase he uses with me, and I can share it because he said that I could, is he says he feels he has more to give. And I think that's the focus. I think that he has spent a lot of time reflecting. He's a religious man. He's a man who has 7 children. He takes care of them, all of them. He takes care, one of the long-term relationships with whom he had 4 kids, has passed away, but the rest, he takes good care of the women he's in a relationship with. He's really a very caring, dedicated person. And so I think he wants to emphasize that part of his life, come out of jail, spend some great time with his children who he misses very much. They get to see their dad. And I think he's going to be happy in the short term, having the simpler pleasures in life, and
pleasures is the wrong word to use right now, man. I'm sorry. The simpler pleasures in life. I don't know about that. The fact that he says he's a religious man. He may be a religious man right now because he just got away with a lot of things by the skin of his teeth. Let's be real, okay? Doesn't matter how many ways you look at this. If you are free Diddy or not, they had so many things stacked up against him and he got away with it all. None of it could withstand what his team pushed back on, right? None of it withstood in court, right? So the fact that he's like, oh yeah, I found God. You only found God while you were locked up then. Okay? That's the only time you found God. Okay? Like nothing's changed. But he's sitting there going, I want he's got more to give, more baby oil, more Astroglide to give. But what are you going to do? See, what the advice I would give the likes of Diddy would be this: put the baby oil and Astroglide down. Don't ever go into hotel rooms unless you are there with your significant other or your kids, and you're only doing very normal, biblical, good things. Okay, no hibbity dibbity in any of these hotel rooms. The only time you're doing hibbity dibbity is when you're at home. Okay, in your properties. Make sure that it's all people that are there because they want to do it with you, not because they're getting paid to be there to do these things with you. You see what I'm saying? And if you have a lot more to give out here in the public, I think the public's had enough of seeing you for a while. Sit down, read a book, find that sobriety that you keep saying that you're trying to find, right? Work on yourself. Stay behind the screen, behind the scenes a little while, because I don't think anybody's ready to see you right now, respectfully, because I feel like it's going to be an overhaul. This is what I'm predicting, y'all. My prediction is that he's going to go overboard, trying to show that he's a good guy. He's going to turn into the freaking Mother Teresa. Watch. Oh, look at me giving back to the kids. Don't you see me handing a bowl to the kid with the flies on his face? Don't you see I'm a good man? I'm giving back to the community. Smile. Don't forget to smile. Yeah. Love me again. You see what I'm saying? Like, I feel like it's going to be him doing everything he can to show, through his kids too, to show that he's just this good guy, that he's not an evil individual, that he, forget that he put his hands on Cassie in that unbelievable video. Forget all the allegations and the spilled milkshakes and all that stuff. Forget all that crazy stuff. Forget it. Put all that to the side and try to remember the new me now. Now, here's the thing. Anybody has, every day is an opportunity to turn it all the way around. I believe this. I truly believe even the most evil of people can turn things around. But it takes a minute for everybody else to believe that. And you can't just bombard people with like, love me again, love me again. People aren't going to be reading it. People aren't going to be loving it. People are not going to be into it. There's going to be people who are going to love it, for sure. There's going to be his side of people, like the people who are out there writhing all over the streets and lathering themselves in baby oil in jubilation. Don't get me wrong. He's going to have those people that are supporting him, for sure. But then there's going to be other people like, I don't know if I'd even trust this guy anymore. I really don't. I really don't know if I really believe what he's saying. Real talk. And what's sad is that he's not the only one. He's not the only one doing this stuff. He's not the only one that's doing this kind of stuff. He just happened to get caught. So I don't know. Maybe there's something he can do to change and sway the court of public opinion, but there's going to be a lot of people that are not going to be riding with him for a long time. Let me let him finish what he was saying. I just don't see it, guys. He's got a lot more to give. Well, maybe he needs to give the a lot more to his children and teach his children how to be better, right? That's it. Lead by example and teach your kids the right way. Because King Combs, man, King Combs is not all pistons are firing with King Combs. I'm sorry, I said it. Okay? Just saying. He needs to take the righteous path, the higher road, but he also needs to teach his kids to use all of their brain cells. And I don't think that they are. Not all of them. And it's sad because now his whole legacy is tarnished with all of this. Same thing with Cassie. Same thing even with the Jane Doe. And there's women and other men that have not even gotten a chance to speak out at all, that are either victims of the situation or not. So again, this is crazy. Let me just hear what he got to say.
But I expect he's a genius in my view, and he has unparalleled talent and ambition and vision. And I would say vision is probably the most pronounced of all those things. And I expect big things out of him. But I think we need to let him have a little transition, have some downtime. I just spoke to him an hour ago. I said, I'm not going to rest until you feel the hot August sun on your neck, and have the simple things in life, and you can take it from there. And I think he sees the wisdom in that.
Mark, he really couldn't have a better advocate. I mean that sincerely. I advocate.
Well, we'll see. We'll see if they're successful. We will definitely see if he's successful, but I don't know. I can't predict anything. We'll see what happens with the judge. If the judge goes, yep, let him free, go ahead and do a retrial on the Mann Act, because he's got solid points. But actually, I'm checking here real quick just to see if there's any updates about this, just to see if the judge came back with an answer already or not. Let's see, CBS News. So far, nada. So far, nada. So, we shall see what happens. But what say you guys? You agree with it? Do you not agree with it? Do you think that he should be set free? Do a retrial? Do they have a solid point here or no? Definitely let me know. Put it in the comments down below. Put it in the family chat. Let me know. This is some crazy stuff. Quite the left turn and quite the Hail Mary. But here's the thing. It might work. It just might work. Crazy. Guys, do me a favor. No, I'm not going to be doing a poll. I'm going to be wrapping up here shortly. But I do have a video that I just put out. I got two new videos, too, that I just put out revolving around Virginia Giuffre and, of course, Candace Owens and the whole lawsuit with the Macrons, you know, the president of France. All right. She had a crazy, wild theory that she just kind of pulled out of her ass. Yeah. Candace Owens. So I highly recommend you guys go check it out. It is pinned to the top of the chat right now as we speak. So go over there, click on it, take a look at it, hear what's going on, because it is a big, big case. And I'm going to be following that and keeping an eye on that extensively here as it continues to develop, because it's crazy. It's crazy, the information that's out here. So we are going to be talking about that for sure. Okay. But again, let me know your thoughts. What do you think? All that about this. We'll see what happens over the course of the day. You know, maybe by Friday, maybe by tomorrow, we're going to hear something brand new, right? And Diddy will get free. If he does get free, my mind will be blown. But at the same time, I feel like it's a strong argument. Does it have any staying power? We'll see. We definitely will see. Anyway, guys, that is the show. I appreciate all y'all for being here. Really means a lot. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please do me a favor before you head out. Hit that like button down below. Crush it, do what it do. Hit that reaction button if you're watching on other platforms. If you are watching on those other platforms like Facebook, X/Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Rumble, Twitch, Kick, please follow on all those platforms. Hit that subscribe button here on my YouTube channel. Go to my second channel, The Pascal Show Clips. Subscribe over there. Go over to my third channel, Pascal Raw. Subscribe over there as well. Hit that notification bell on all those platforms so you know whenever I go live, whenever I upload, because it is random right now. Okay? Don't forget to hit that join button down below. Become a member. Check out my Patreon. And, of course, check out PascalMerch.com. We got some really great stuff over there. PascalMerch.com. All right. But anyway, guys, it's time to get going. Much love to you guys. We will talk very soon. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. This is The Pascal Show. Bye.